Hello, my name is Cody Bradford, founder of Howling Moon Distillery in Asheville, North Carolina. We make a traditional moonshine the way my family has in these mountains for over 200 years. Moonshine is a specific product that's made on a still that is handmade. It's an old style of distilling, and it doesn't just have to be corn. Most people think of corn, and that was the abundant crop they had when they were here originally making moonshine in these mountains. But you can make it out of a brandy, out of fruits. You can use barley, you can use rye. What makes the moonshine outside of the fact that it's illegal, that's one definition of it. But it was a specific style of early American whiskey that would be classified as a traditional moonshine. Big part of why I did this was I had other moonshines on the stores that were not moonshine. So we want to preserve, the culture and the history. We don't want to sell something that's fake, try to make money off of a name or a story or an image. We want to sell the product itself. Try to get rid of some of the stereotypes, or make people understand why people did this. A lot of people think that people just wanted to break the law and that's why they did it, but it's a lot more complicated than that. People did it to survive. These mountains would never have been settled if it was not for moonshine, and the West, the whole United States could have been completely different, as far as the way it was shaped. If it wasn't for the Scots Irish moving in here and ended up fighting in the American Revolution and opened up the western frontier of the Appalachian Mountains. Our family's kept it alive. I was around it when I was a kid, and my dad made moonshine. My grandpa and my great uncle both were big moonshiners, and I was able to learn the actual technology and the process. It's not something that's simple. Everybody thinks that moonshiners have a stereotype of being lazy. It's extremely hard work. It's hard enough now, but back in the old days, when you were going from place to place making it, you'd have to move because the law would be on to you, and you're constantly moving all these big 55-gallon barrels. You got to move the liquor, you got to move the stills, you have to rebuild the rocks around it. Ours we built with concrete to be permanent, but they would use clay and then tear it apart and move it when they needed to. And they have to keep their stills and all the liquor and all the parts of the stills hidden as well. That's actually the reason that I only have part of the still. I only have the pot off of the still, and I have the condenser to it. It wasn't all hid together. One reason is so you don't lose everything if they find something, but another reason was if you were caught with even one part to a moonshine still, you could get in trouble for each piece you had. So when I say that it's not moonshine, unless it's made in a moonshine still, it's not just trying to be arrogant or cocky about anything. The moonshine still is an ancient piece of technology. Only thing that's been added to it over the last 400 years is the thump keg in the middle. That came around like the 1870s, I believe. So one of the main differences in a real moonshine is that it is not a grain neutral spirit. The way that the still works and preserves the flavor throughout the process, something similar to try to compare would be like a good real tequila. They use a similar style of distilling, and there is flavor from the product. Like in tequila, you taste the agave. So we make everything in small batch. We did attempt to use a larger still, an 800-gallon still at one time, and we could not keep the quality and doing it the traditional way without trying to speed things up. Is a hard process. You can't get anybody to do the work we need. I do all the work myself outside of a little bit of welding. Everything we use, we do by hand. We don't use artificial colorings or flavorings. We try to use everything local as possible, but also everything natural. Real apples, and we don't use juice for our apple pie. Peaches from a farm in Johnston County, South Carolina. It's got a high bricks content. It's got more sugar in it. It took me almost 3 years to find the right peaches for our peach moonshine. So it's been a very specific and complicated process to find all this stuff locally, but we've been able to do it. We come in here, we chop the apples, we mix our mash for our moonshine, cook it by hand, mix it by hand, distill it and catch it in just small stainless steel 5-gallon buckets. A lot of knowledge has been passed down for lots of generations, and I don't want to just throw it out the window and be forgot, just to try to speed things up and make more money. A modern still, it makes more alcohol per gallon of mash that you put in it. We can make more money doing that, but you don't have the quality, you don't have the authentic moonshine, you don't have the flavor. We could cut a lot of corners by using artificial coloring and flavorings too, but that wouldn't be authentic either. So we go through all the painstaking steps of doing everything by hand.